Okay, today is September the 3rd, Sunday evening, about 2 hours after the weekly open. Let's go ahead and run through the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. So let's go ahead and start off with our news events. We keep this nice and short. There's really nothing that we need to worry about this week. Having settled all the ETF decisions, there's no major CPI or FOMC. The only thing even remotely worth noting is US unemployment, but at the end of the day, I don't really care about any of this kind of stuff. So there's really no major news events to worry about. So we can go ahead and jump straight into the boomers. We're going to do a super light rundown on the boomers really quickly. Essentially what I'm seeing with the NASDAQ and the S&P is that their local bullish trends have probably died off, and it's probably time to revert back to the macro composites that they built up over a year-long period. I think that it's probably just a matter of time before they re-accept below this quarterly and trend down. If they are able to build up value above the quarterlies, then I'm probably wrong. But I do think that it's probably time for a little bit of higher time frame mean reversion back on these things. It definitely has seemed like the momentum has been lost as they've traded into their key sticky areas. So yeah, I mean, there really isn't too much to cover on these. I've just been saying more or less the same thing. Momentum has, clearly been lost, but it's taking quite a long time for them to kind of reverse course and trend back down. So if you are directionally trading these things, I would be looking for them to re-accept below the quarterlies, and then you can start to use that for trend following back down to the comps. Let's go ahead and jump into Bitcoin. This is definitely the main focus here. So where do we want to start? Let's go ahead and start off with the higher time frame. Like I have been talking about, my plan kind of worked out exactly more or less how I expected it to. I definitely didn't trade it as well as I should have, but it is, we can take a little bit of solace in the fact that the plan worked. The rejection and the, dead cat played out much faster than expected, and really threw me off a bit. So I definitely didn't play it as cleanly as I had hoped to. But it is nice that the plan worked out. So the original plan was wait for, value to be built here, and then play the dead cat, rejection for continuation down most likely. So that is basically where we're at now, is that we do expect higher time frame continuation. When we look at the medium time frames, I'll show the actual setups I'm looking for to get, short and participate in it. This is definitely macro support here around 25K. So it's probably going to take a minute before it can actually successfully break through that and trend down. But basically once 25K is lost, we're looking at downside continuation first, probably to the 22K region, and then following that into the 19K region, where I would readdress the, the view on being bearish at that point. So we should expect it to look essentially like the reciprocal of this all year long. We've been trending up, and more recently we've been losing momentum as the trend is starting to round off. And we, had our weaker drive up more recently, and then we've recently had the dead cat. So if, basically we expect price to trade up a little bit and then probably result in downside continuation. This is an extremely nasty rejection. Reminds us a lot of the Ripple news event. It basically played out exactly the same. So it would not surprise me at all if we were, to chop around a little bit, maybe trade up and squeeze out some shorts. On lower time frame, I've already noticed that a lot of shorts have been squeezed out, but there's probably more to be squeezed before we, play that downside continuation. One of the key things is don't expect it to just be a straight line down. It's probably going to, do the bouncing ball effect. So do be mindful of the fact that you probably need to be taking profit and then reloading shorts on the bounces. So that's pretty much it for the higher time frame. We're just playing continuation of the original plans, and at this point, there's no reason to expect the core plan to have any deviations to it, so it's probably looking like downside continuation. So let's move over to the medium time frame. Essentially, these are the two kind of scenarios I'm looking for. One is the spike up and squeeze out shorts, and then two is the continued crab. So following this really nasty this classic news event kind of thing, and then immediate rejection. From this, we've traded down into the lows, back into the early VWAP again, and now we have reaccepted back into this value. So I wouldn't be too hastily with expecting us to have some immediate downside rejection. I do think that having some sort of crab is the expectation. So for intraday, I'm going to be leaning into crab. For higher time frame though, if I do get a nice pop-up, I don't really care exactly where it is, whether it's closer to 27 or whether it's just into the mid 26s or even the lower 26s. I don't really care. I am going to be looking for a clear setup, which is primarily going to be based off of seeing a lot of shorts get closed out, and sort of a forced out fashion, in a very illiquid fashion. If I see something like that in combination with some of the other things we talk about in the group, I'm probably going to look for a directional swing short. But that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. There really isn't too much else to worry about. TLDR is, grab, honestly. That's going to be the main focus, is we really expect grab. Most of the active participation these days is not on Bitcoin. Market participation overall is quite low right now. So people have really moved over into the shitcoins, which is probably a great segue into our next conversation. Let's go over and move over to shitcoin talk. For more information, check out the Paragon group with the link below, where I cover everything from how I trade to how you can develop your own style. So first things first in shitcoin talk to cover is going to be the Ant trade. So this is one of the, there's only a few coins that are actually, strong on higher time frame, and Ant continues to be one of them. So I am swing long on this. I have taken partial profits. Let's see if this will load really quickly. Of course, it's going to load really ugly because it kind of crashed in the middle of this, but you can see that I have an absolute bottom tick entry on Ant right here. From right here on the yearly retest on the bands. So I basically helped make the bottom on this thing. So I'm trying to be a little bit patient with it. I'm obviously always worried about the idea of round tripping anything where I'm holding it longer term. Round tripping is probably one of the most painful experiences you can go through as a trader. But so I am trying to hold on to it. So basically I took profits around the midpoint, and my expectation is to take, I'm probably going to take profits on it again pretty soon. There's always a possibility that it is able to break outside of this, distribution and trade up towards the yearly bands. That was my ultimate target, was to take profit on here up into the $5 range, which would be an absolute banger of a trade. That'd be like a almost 30% trade. But I'm taking profits along the way just because I've already dealt with the pain of trading this chop a lot, where it is likely that you're going to get round tripped on it. And this thing's rather illiquid, so the round trips are quite violent and happen quickly. It's not like you have a lot of time to mess around with thinking and stuff. You gotta kind of be more aggressive on the take profit side on these kind of shit coins. Just go ahead and scan through things really quickly. Basically the majority of shit coins look like they're really bad, or in poor shape rather. INJ is one that you could potentially, participate in. OP is already oversold so much to where there's really no risk to reward on shorting anymore. So Sui basically is a good coin to look at, because this is essentially what almost every coin looks like. Most of the active coins in the market, the main perp coins, they all look like this for the most part, unless they're brand new coins or they're in that kind of handful, that small handful list of coins that we would call the cartel coins. Outside of those coins, they pretty much all look like this, where they're in continuous downtrends. So anything that looks like this, if you're interested in trading it, you obviously want to be favoring downside, because the trend is quite strong to the downside on this. If you go ahead and look through any of the other coins that are on my watch list, they're pretty much all going to look like that, if they're not specific to like my Gig Strong list or something. So ASTR coin is basically the complete opposite of what Sui looks like. So this has pretty decent quarterly structuring. So I would probably expect coins that look like this to continue to chop on up. So that does it for altcoins. So that's it this week. We covered everything. Good luck out there, and definitely strongly recommend hunting for whatever the next cyber is going to be, because that's almost certainly going to be a play this week. But yeah, that's it. Good luck, everybody. Peace.